9 in Nyeri, 97.7 in Malindi. We are live streaming on Facebook on Spice FM KE, on YouTube Spice FM KE, and on our website www.spicefm.co.ke. The conversation also happens on Twitter via our Twitter handle Spice FM KE, and the hashtag is the Situation Room. Joining us in the Situation Room this morning on the hot seat is Eliud Owalo. He is the ANC candidate for the Kibra by-election. Good morning and welcome, and thank you very much for joining us this morning, Eliud.
Morning, thank you too.
Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Now, there's a lot that is happening, of course, in the campaign since the campaign started, and of course, we know that the by-election is happening now this month.
Next week?
It's next week, actually.
Yes.
And, we've been talking about, the Kibra by-election is happening. It's coming. We know there are many candidates. We know there's the big guns. The ANC has a candidate. The Jubilee has a candidate. ODM has a candidate. And, of course, you were once a very close
You have
person.
left out Ford Kenya.
Ford Kenya had
Ford
a
Kenya.
candidate. The big guns, right? Ford
Yes.
Kenya has a candidate. Who else has a candidate? Who are your other competitors? How many are you actually
we
in
are
this race?
24.
Oh, really?
24
Yeah.
candidates in this race.
Yes.
Wow, those are many actually for one parliamentary seat. So, ANC, for instance, you have been campaigning vigorously on the ground, and of course, we've seen even your party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, coming to campaign for you and with you.
Yes.
And there has been this talk that ANC is going in for the Luya vote.
From the onset, I've made it abundantly clear to the people of Kibra and elsewhere that to me, from where I sit, I see this as a contest of ideas, as opposed to a contest between tribes. And believe you me, I'm tribeless in this campaign. I'm absolutely tribeless in this campaign. It is my considered belief that what will make me win this seat is my agenda, transformative agenda for the people of Kibra constituency. So people ask me, you are in ANC, but predominantly those from your community are perceived to be in ODM. And I tell them that I'm not going to run my campaign on a tribal platform. My tribe is my agenda for the people of Kibra. And my stronghold is my agenda for the people of Kibra. And I want to be voted in on the basis of that.
And is that the mindset the people of Kibra have? Are they looking at issues or are they looking at tribe, the actual electorate?
I want to drive an issue-based campaign. There has to be a paradigm shift in our politics, not just in Kibra, but anywhere else in this country for that matter. We must run away from retrogressive politics of putting conglomeration of tribes together to attain political power. Because if I'm elected member of parliament for Kibra, it's incumbent upon me to serve everybody in Kibra. So if I'm gonna put together tribes, what happened to those tribes or people from those communities who actually end up not voting for me? So to me, I'm not going to be captive to the traditional way of doing politics. There has to be a paradigm shift. It has to start from somewhere, and I believe Kibra gives us an opportunity as a country.
You went through this shift. You feel that you as an individual went through this shift as well? Is that why you left ODM? Why did you leave ODM?
Well, that is in the public domain. I was not actually happy with the way the last ODM nominations was conducted when I made an attempt to run for this seat in the year 2017.
You accused Raila of imposing his daughter on the constituency, is that correct?
To me, really, that is now water under the bridge. Those were circumstances prevailing at that point in time. I made my position abundantly clear. I'm usually a very decisive person. And if you can remember, after that ODM nomination fiasco, I did say that I was not going to run for the seat altogether.
Right.
As a matter of principle. I was not happy with the process, but I didn't want to look egocentric at that point in time. I was not seeing the rationale of leaving the ODM party, jumping to another party, or running as an independent, because at that point in time, I ought to have subscribed to the philosophy and ideology of the ODM party. So if I jumped ship at that point in time, I would have looked at like somebody who is not principled. So I said I was going to keep off the Kibra election altogether as at 2017. But 2 years down the line, a lot has changed. And politics is dynamic.
Absolutely.
Interests also change. And I decided not to repeat the same mistake that I did in 2017 by going for the seat on my former party's ticket again, because I was not seeing any change. Yeah, I didn't want to face the same challenges I faced last time. And I did, having evaluated all the political parties, registered political parties in this country, and against the background of the challenges facing the people of Kibra, it was my considered belief that the best party which I can partner with to pursue my own aspirations for the people of Kibra and also address the challenges lying therein is the Amani National Party.
What issues does the ANC believe on? On what ideologies is ANC founded that we can say now those will translate to issues that will be pushed forward or established in Kibra, for example? Should you take this?
ANC has a proper policy agenda, social democracy, but geared towards addressing the challenges facing the common mwananchi. And if you remember, even as at today, my party leader, Musalia Mudavadi, is on record perhaps as the only national politician who articulates issues which does touch on the interests of the common mwananchi. Whether it is issues of corruption, wanton corruption at higher levels, whether it is issue of spiraling debt, we have actually become a Fuliza
A
country.
de facto opposition.
A Fuliza country.
So this, the social democratic policies with the ANC, how do they differ from those of ODM in terms of ideologies?
You see, you can have ideology on paper, but not in practice. We must have a practical approach to our politics. It does not help if you have an ideology on paper, but you don't practice it.
Do you think that all, if you look at ANC as a party,
Yes.
and the different members that it has, and who then have positions in leadership today, in government today, have these issues, have these ideologies shown through? If we're saying that it is a party that is actually based on ideology and practices that, establishing through issues, have we seen them, members of parliament, for example, governors, who have actually pushed the issue agenda?
You know what? The position of my party leader on issues of corruption, issues of effective debt management, issues of unemployment, issues of spiraling inflation and the net effects, most people living below the poverty line, is very well registered in the public domain. He is on record today as the only politician at national level who stands with the common man, actually the last man standing. Now, we need an enabling legislative agenda to enforce some of these ideologies. And this is why, in my considered belief, to address the challenges facing the people of Kibra, I want to do it within the ambit and policy framework of the ANC party.
Of the ANC party.
In line with its ideology and in line with the stand of my party leader on these national issues.
Eliud, how long have you been a member of ANC?
Well, now about 3 months.
So for 3 months now.
Yes, please.
And you joined the ANC just to get into this particular contest.
Not really. You know, first of all, I've got a personal, professional relationship with Musalia Mudavadi spanning almost 15 years. We have known each other at a professional level for quite a while now. And even across political parties, I've always engaged him on professional issues. He's one person who has got a grasp of issues, be they economics, and otherwise.
How are you picked to be the candidate for Kibra? What was the nomination process?
I submitted my papers for purposes of nomination to my party. And there are other people also who showed interest. And we went through a vetting process,
Right.
which is enshrined in the party constitution.
Absolutely. It's one of the options that you can use.
And actually, based on those interviews which the party did, I actually emerged the best.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why is it that we saw then emerging fractions within the party with leaders like Cleopas Malala, the Kakamega senator, coming out to say, you know what, some of these leaders saying, no, we don't believe that our party should participate in this by-election. Was there no discussion within the party leadership that we need to participate in this by-election?
I don't really want to speak about Malala because he's not here to defend himself. But to the best of my knowledge, he's not been actively involved in party activities. He's a member on paper, but he's not been actively involved in party activities. for quite a while now. Yeah.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk about what sort of policies you'd be looking to implement. Of course, education with the late Kenneth Okoth was a big thing, and it's there's big shoes for you to fill there. He was very popular. He's built a school, very well liked gentleman.
Yeah.
What is your agenda? What issues would you be looking to tackle, and how would you be looking to help the people of Kibra? You've talked that you're pro-poor. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Oh, yes, I will. From where I sit, I see Kibra as a victim of doing the same things year in, year out, yet expecting different results. Why am I saying this? There are people who only see the slum in Kibra. But personally, I see a lot of opportunities for our people in Kibra. And I want to come up with a transformative agenda that can translate into a rise in the standards of living of the people. I've got an economics background, so I hope you'll feel where I'm coming from. My argument is that you can have economic growth at the national level, but that economic growth does not translate into a rise in the standards of living of the people. We still have the vicious circle of poverty. You have got the masses living below the poverty line. So I think we need a paradigm shift, and a radical one as such. I want to pursue direct empowerment of the people. If we are going to wait for a trickle-down effect, then our people will continue living in abject poverty. Because even that very economic growth at the national level is characterized by misallocation of resources, inequitable distribution of resources, and even wanton corruption. So our people will continue waiting year in, year out for a trickle down from the national level. There has to be a paradigm shift, and I believe that we need deliberate and conscious interventions to directly empower our people. So against that background, what do I want to do? One, I appreciate the fact that Ken Okoth, the late Okoth, may God rest his soul in peace, was perhaps one of the most dedicated and industrious members of parliament we have had in this country over the past decade. And that cannot be wished away. We must recognize that. But again, I want to say that I want to fill my own shoes. I don't want to fill Ken Okoth's shoes. I know what my agenda is. But again, I don't want to practice negative politics that has characterized our political landscape over the past decades, where you move into office and the first thing you do is to discard all the projects and initiatives that your predecessor was undertaking. I want to look at Ken Okoth's development agenda, pick what he had in his plan, which is in line with my transformative agenda for the people of Kibra, so that I aligned the two. So long as there are tangible development programs and initiatives which Ken Okoth was pursuing, left unfinished, but they'll benefit the people, the onus is on me to pick up from where he left and move forward with them. So I will integrate that into my development agenda. Now, starting with education. First of all, I want the people of Kibra and the country at large to understand that the constituency development funds is actually public funds. People have got inalienable right to get support from the CDF. We all pay taxes. That taxes goes to the national government through the exchequer, and it is in law that this money, part of it, needs to be translated transferred to the grassroots through the CDF. So it is public funds. It is not personal resources of the member of parliament. So even if I become the member of parliament, we have to utilize or oversee the utilization of the CDF funds from that perspective. So what I'm saying in short is that I will exercise good governance, ensure that there is prudent utilization of funds, not just accordingly based on the law, but also in conformity, full conformity to the Public Financial Management Act. That is one. So integrity of all our processes within the CDF will be imperative.
And how, can I just interrupt, how would that translate to the layman? How would that translate to a Kibra resident, for instance? What would they feel? Directly. Give them something tangible that as a result, because you've talked about direct empowerment, a transformative agenda, the fact that you will adhere to the sort of framework for integrity and so on, you'll be prudent. How does that then translate to the layman?
That's what I'm coming to now. That's what I want to espouse.
Okay.
Okay, what I'm saying in short is that, first of all, I want to ensure that I've put in place a sound corporate governance framework in place to ensure prudent utilization of public funds, within the CDF. And with that in place, and with the systems and policies and operational procedures in place that would facilitate that good corporate governance, then I've got thematic areas that I believe will translate into results for the people. One, in a very education where Kenokoth did well, I'm sure and I'm aware that most of the people of Kibra benefited a lot from CDF through bursaries. Yeah? I want to assure the people of Kibra that they will continue getting the bursaries, and that bursary is their right as well. But having also looked at the financial outlay that we have within the CDF, the programs that I want to undertake, I want to raise the level of bursary from Kenya shillings 5,000 to 10,000 shillings, because education is a key thematic area in my development agenda. And I want also to offer the bursary support in a sustainable manner, to the extent that if we pick up a student in Form 1, we should be able to educate the student all the way through to Form 4. So that we don't have lapses where the student gets bursary this term, next term the student is at home. Yeah. So that is one. But two, high levels of unemployment is characteristic of not just Kibra but other slums elsewhere within this country. We have got high unemployment levels. I want us to adopt a small paradigm shift. I'm not negating the rationale of higher education, because personally I'm a product of that system. But what pains me is that we have got children we have educated up to university. Some of them we have even educated by selling our own personal belongings. But these children are back living with the parents in their houses because of lack of employment opportunities. So what do I want to do to address this? I want to establish and operationalize a TVET center, a technical vocational training center in Kibra, where our boys and girls, upon leaving Form 4, if they don't make it for higher education, can pursue these technical courses. Let the boys pursue engineering, plumbing, carpentry, and the like.
The girls too.
Come again?
And the girls too, the women as well.
Yeah, the girls, let them pursue hairdressing, catering, tailoring, and such like courses. And I'm already in talks with certain prospective financiers from outside the country. People I've worked with in the private sector. By the way, I've got long-held contacts and relations in the private sector based on my consultancy experience spanning over the past 18 years as a consultant. Now, I'm in talks with certain individuals or entities to support us in entrepreneurial development that would enable us get funds to establish. I want to establish an entrepreneurship fund within the constituency, away from the National Women Enterprise Fund, away from the National Youth Enterprise Fund. So our people will be able to get resources from the Kibra Entrepreneurship Development Fund. The divergence or difference between this fund and the loan you go get from the bank is that it will be like sort of a grant. You get money from this entity, you do your business, but you pay back without interest.
So it's still a loan, but interest-free.
Yeah, but interest-free. This is what I'm saying.
Right.
That's the radical departure between this and the normal loans. So what will happen is that once these boys and girls get out of the TVET centers, we are not going to offload them to the job market to look for employment, because that will be compounding the very problem we are trying to address. We will give them money to start up their own workshops and business enterprises so that they in turn employ the younger ones. I want to build a constituency of employers, not a constituency of people who are looking for employment.
And where is this money coming from?
I'm
money
telling
to
you,
do this?
I'm already in talks. Yeah.
You're outsourcing it.
Yeah, I'm outsourcing it away from the CDF. Forget about the CDF funds. And
So
I want
it's
to go
private
on record.
companies that are going to fund
private
this
entities. And actually,
project.
these are international entities. The amount that the transformative agenda I have for the Kibra constituency, you cannot facilitate it using the CDF funds. That is like a drop in the ocean compared to the financial outlay that we require. And I also want our leaders across all levels in this country to know that you should not, as a leader, you don't just focus on what comes from the exchequer to drive your development agenda. You must think outside the box. And, you know, I'm going to have a strategic plan, a 3-year rapid strategic plan, which I'll roll out through annual work plans, which I will use as a shopping document to mobilize resources for this constituency. Let us run away from this notion that once you are elected to public office, you only think about the finances which come from the exchequer. The same thing that the governors are doing. They don't even understand their mandate. They think that what they should be doing day in, day out is to run to the treasury, pursue the funds from there, then they take back to the counties to misuse. Yeah?
Mr. Owalo, do I get the impression that you want to run for a governor's seat?
No. I'm just concerned about some of the wrong things we are doing in this country. And this is what drives some of us from the private sector into politics so that we make a change from within there.
What I wanted to ask you, Mr. Owalo, is this.
Yeah.
If I was a potential voter for Kibra listening to you, I would personally vote for you.
Yeah.
But what you are asking, do you think it resonates enough with the voter in Kibera to the point where they would actually vote for you? That's part one of my question.
Yeah.
Part two, I am asking, these are wonderful things that you're saying.
Yeah.
But in the time you've been in politics, is there anywhere you have put some of these ideas into practice so that one can say, this is what I have done, and this is what I want to replicate here?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Could you tell us about
this? Is in the public domain, within Kibra and elsewhere.
Yes.
When I started interacting with the people of Kibra in 2014 by way of entrepreneurship support, I realized that there's unemployment in this constituency. And what I've done so far, I've taken for driving school training, about 1,000 boys and youth from Kibra, picked from all the 5 wards for driving school training. Now they have got driving licenses and they are involving gainful employment. We have got people who are driving matatus. We have people driving Ubers. About 3 weeks ago, I was at one of the foreign embassies and I met this young man who reached out to me and asked me, do you remember me? I told him I don't. They told me, you know what? I'm the driver to the ambassador here. And I got my driving license way back in 2014, courtesy of your efforts. And he made my day. I was very happy because I've actually changed the life of somebody who can now look after the younger ones. So that's just one of the issues, addressing youth unemployment, how I want to address youth unemployment. But again, another thing I want to do, still on the issue of youth unemployment, I want to establish in each ward a youth employment center, a functional youth employment center, charged with 2 functional domains. One, I want us to determine the skill sets that we have in the constituency which are underutilized because of lack of employment opportunities. I want to know which boys and which girls and what courses have they learned, what certificates do they have. We develop a skills inventory for each ward. That is on one hand. On the other hand, these functional employment entities, which will be manned by capable individuals, young boys and girls themselves, will be undertaking continuous research in the job market to know what opportunities exist. What I'm trying to address here is a situation where we have got boys and girls who are well educated, they have the certificates, but they don't even know what opportunities exist in the jobs market. Then we try to use the little contacts we have to match the skill sets with the available opportunities in the jobs market.
Are there available opportunities in the
Yes,
jobs market?
there are. There could be specialized opportunities which are available for specialized skills. So that's one. Moving away from the issue of youth unemployment, I want to move on to women empowerment. In my transformative agenda, I believe that the women will be an integral foundation of not just the family unit, but also the development agenda I have for this constituency. I want the women of Kibra to be involved in gainful economic activity. Let them also have the opportunity to access funds from the same entrepreneurship fund I'm talking about, be able to do their business, even if it means taking 100,000 today, starting up a fish selling business, paying back slowly by slowly until you finish, and then you progressively move on to higher levels. My thinking is that even if the elderly and the youth are hustling, if I may use that word, for lack of a better word, then at the end of the day, even if it means that a woman makes a net profit of 500 shillings per day, in the evening the woman is able to put food on the table. And they are not with that. My also considered belief is that if a woman has her own money, however little it is, to me that money is better than big amount of money you are waiting for from somebody, because you feel secure from an economic perspective. I want the women of Kibra to feel secure. I don't want them to be vulnerable from an economic perspective. So that's two. Now, I want then to subsequently move to fundamental challenges that affect Kibra as a whole. One of them is lack of water and inadequate sanitation.
Sure.
It's a big problem. Now, there are two issues here. One, the Nairobi County government, through the Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, because water service provision is now a devolved function, okay, has failed in executing its mandate of water and sanitation service provision. That is one. Two, we also have players in the private sector who vandalize the water infrastructure that is being put in place deliberately, so that in turn they dig up boreholes and come up to sell water to the people at exorbitant what? Prices. I want to drive these guys out of town upon being elected. We are not going to allow exploitation and extortion. Yeah.
How will you do that?
I'll just tell them, legally or otherwise, that we are not going to allow this.
These are cartels, you realize.
They are cartels. We deal with the cartels.
It's been difficult to fight them out. So what will you do that's different?
I will stop them.
How?
If I'm going to do business as usual, then there's no point of me even pursuing this seat.
Right.
Yeah. So let me finish the issue of water. What do I want to do? First of all, I want you to understand where I'm coming from. I've got a lot of existential experience in the water sector. When the water reforms were introduced in this country in the year 2003, I was contracted by then GTZ, which is today called GIZ, to develop strategic plans in this sector. So I started by developing the strategic plan for the sector regulator, which is the Water Services Regulatory Board. Then I moved down to the 7 water boards in this country. Then I moved down to the lower level of developing strategic plans for the water companies. I started with the model water company in this country, which is called Nyeri Water, Nyewasco. Then I did the Kisumu one, Kiwasco. I did the Gusi one, and several others. Just two months ago, I finished also developing the strategic plan for Thika Water and Sanitation Company. So the water sector,
you understand
it very well. Now, using the little contacts I've established, I've reached out to 2 entities, private sector NGOs, whose core mandate, they have got a focus on water and sanitation service provision. One of them is called SNV Netherlands. The other one is now GIZ, which is the successor to the hitherto GTZ. Yeah. And we have agreed that once I'm elected the member of parliament for Kibra, we will do a rapid needs assessment so that we are able to determine a baseline of the water and sanitation infrastructure in this country and see how they can help us through private sector direct support, so that we can get water and sanitation for our people. That's just one of the initiatives. And I want people to learn from this, because there's a lot you can actually do through the private sector support, as opposed to just relying on the public funds, okay? So that's one issue I want to address. The next thing is the frequent fires within Kibra. It's another challenge. Now, these fires come up as a result of illegal connections. Why do we have illegal connections? We have illegal connections because the people cannot afford
illegal electricity connections.
Yeah, the people cannot afford the prevailing market rates for electricity connection. That is one. So they need power; they cannot afford it. So we have illegal connections, and this is what causes, more often than not, the frequent fires. There are 2 issues here, or 2 perspectives from which we can address this. One is to see through a legislative process how we can reduce the level of electricity tariffs so that our people can benefit from direct connections from the national grid. That is one. But on the other end, there is also the need for emergency disaster response as and when these fires arise, God forbid. In this perspective, I want to use some specialized networks I have to enable us. You see, the biggest problem we have been having in Kibra is that you call the fire brigade, which is under the county government of Nairobi, they take forever and ever. As and when they arrive, everything is raced down. So my question is, what do they come to do in the first place? Okay? So let us explore the possibility of having our own firefighting vehicles on standby, at least one
Owalo
within Kibra. Yeah, I don't want to use those words which have been abused before. I'm a man of substance, and I don't just want to.
So who will own these ones?
This will be the constituency itself. Yeah,
So
it will be ours.
So where will the funding come from? The CDF?
No. This will not be CDF funding.
How will it be funded?
I'll get this from the private sector. I'll
All
source
right.
for it.
So there's a lot of private sector intervention.
Yes, I know. You need to understand where I'm coming from. I've been in consultancy over the past 8 years. And for your information, most of the strategic plans in this the Kenyan market, whether they are for ministries or government parastatals or private sector, I'm the one who has done them.
So you believe in public-private partnerships? You
I
believe that's
believe
the
in
way to
public-
get things done?
Well, if we are waiting for if we are looking forward to just financing everything through the exchequer, public expenditure, then we are in the wrong.
And what's in it for these private partners? What will they be getting out of it? I'm sure they're not doing it.
There has to
just
be
out
a
of philanthropic-
coincidence. There has to be a coincidence of ones. Let me just explain one thing. If you look at our sustainable development goals today, the SDGs, which is the successor to the Millennium Development Goals, goal number 6 advocates for provision of clean and adequate water and sanitation to everybody. And this is a development agenda driven by the United Nations. Okay? Now, these non-governmental organizations get donor support. Okay? On the basis of their contributing component to driving the sustainable development goals, for example. So if they get money because of their involvement in the water and sanitation sector, yeah,
They're looking for a channel
then
to...
yes, they are looking for an opportunity to use it. And Kibra presents them
How
with
long
that.
have
There
we-
has to be a double coincidence of wants.
How long have we had these donors trying to help Africa, and how much have they done? Because there's a lot of agencies, actually NGOs, even in Kibra itself. And has there been much development through them? And with these donor agencies, do you actually get not just sustainable solutions, but solutions that plug the problems?
You
Or do they
see-
keep it perpetual so that you need them throughout?
You see, donors come in because the public sector has created a void for them to come in. They come in to fill that void because we have failed from a private sector perspective.
Public.
Public sector.
I mean, a public sector perspective. Personally, what I would wish to see is a sound legal and policy framework within which the NGOs can operate. And this is there in existence. And we have got legal and regulatory and policy frameworks in this country. The challenge we have been facing is enforcement. I would really wish to see a situation where each and every NGO, not just in Kibra but elsewhere for that matter, operate within the ambit of the existing policy and regulatory framework. We have the challenge of enforcement, and that's what really we need to work on. So what
Mr.
am I
Owalo,
saying?
I want us to take a break so we can take a look at traffic, what's happening on the roads. We have Eliud Owalo, who is the candidate for the Kibra by-election on the ANC ticket. He's here in the studio. He's listing his development agenda. Am I the only one who's getting the feeling that this man wants to be governor of Nairobi instead of...
Or should be governor.
should be governor of Nairobi. And not just, MP. We'll be opening up the phone lines in a few minutes. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Any questions or comments that you'd like to direct to Eliud Owalo? He's in the studio. Good morning. This is the Situation Room.
Traffic.
Better situation citywide. Komarock Dandora area traffic is flowing very well. Moving past that and looking at what was happening on Gong Road, trying to access the city mortuary roundabout, not so bad right now. Let's see how that changes in a short while. Looking at Mombasa Road, where we had traffic bumper to bumper heading towards the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, not so bad right about now. More people, everybody trying to converge in the city, as it were, coming off Westlands and also from the Thika Super Highway as well. Traffic was bumper to bumper, is still moving slowly, but moving all the same. Getting to that time where we see what will be happening around about 9 o'clock as more and more vehicles get into the city centre. It's the end of the month, rather. It's the beginning of the month, and everybody's on the roads. Not as bad as we anticipated. It's moving slowly. Arrive alive. Be safe. 0719-012-600. Share any information that we can then share onwards.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Next week, the people of Kibra go to the polls to elect a new member of parliament. One of the candidates who's seeking their support or their vote is Eliud Owalo. He is running on an ANC ticket. That's Amani National Congress. And he's here with us in the studio. He's on the hot seat. He's been telling us about what he wants to do when he becomes MP. You know, a lot of them is development. And I get a feeling that, Eliud, you are not running for MP. You're running to be the governor of Kibra.
Not quite.
Because these are all executive roles, not necessarily.
Not quite. I'm going to get there because the primary role of a member of parliament is actually legislative and oversight. Yeah, I'll get there at the tail end. But I'm addressing real issues on the ground. Okay, real challenges facing the people, because we must come up with specific interventions to address these challenges. Now, there is the issue of unexploited potential of talents within our youth. Now, this happens because we don't have facilities within Kibra to enable them exploit their full potential. We have got 2 grounds there in Kibra which are operating below capacity, suboptimal capacity, if I may say it. We have got the Malindi sports field, and we also have the Woodley grounds in Kibra. I want to explore the possibility of having a public-private partnership approach where we can get some partnership with an infrastructural entity so that we develop these 2 sports grounds into sports and talent development centers. Now, this will be run as independent, more or less like strategic business units, away from the CDF, so that they are able and capable to generate their own funds, and we utilize the same to support the development of the talent in our youth. That's in the area of sports and talent development. Now, the other issue is human rights. My record in this country as a human rights defender is in the public domain, and I want to use that for the benefit of the people of Kibra. I'll give you an example. In the year 2016, the people of Toi Market, and there are thousands of them, woke up one morning and they were told, get out of this entity. This is now a private entity. I moved in, I got a lawyer, speedily obtained an injunction from court. The case is still in court, but at least I managed to ensure that the people of Toi Market remain in that market to continue with their day-to-day activities.
That was your doing, was it?
Come again?
That was your doing.
Oh, yes, okay. Yes, absolutely. Because I was touched by the plight of those people, because that's where their source of livelihood. So I really want also to enhance the promotion of the rights of the people of Kibra, especially by thwarting attempts at land grabbing. There are people who only see, the only positive thing they see in Kibra is the land in that constituency. These people have got an insatiable lust for land. They even move around with the fencing wire in their vehicles, if I may put it that way. And we must stop this. They grab land belonging to churches. They grab land belonging to schools, even open playgrounds. And they grab land belonging to markets.
How do you intend to stop this?
One, I want to explore the possibility of getting legitimate title deeds for the markets. Well, that will be a lasting solution. Yeah. And 2, I want to put in place a framework, public driven framework that will ensure that we don't allow anybody to grab any public utility within that constituency. We will stop it and we will drive these guys out of town. So that's another area which I want to address.
There's an area I want to scrutinize a little further.
Yes.
You've talked about youth empowerment and women empowerment. There's a demographic that keeps getting left out.
Yes, please.
Because as politicians, we tend to lean on these 2. They're very emotive during election times.
Yes.
What about the husbands of these women? So the people who
Yes,
who are not women,
yes.
who are not women
Yes.
and they're not youth, because there's been some correlation between youth empowerment and violence.
Yes.
Not youth empowerment, sorry, women empowerment
Yeah.
and domestic violence, because you haven't, the men don't you don't have the buy-in from the men. So as soon as a woman becomes financially sufficient, the man's role becomes obsolete. And they've been, of course, socialized for financial provision. And once somebody feels obsolete, there's frustration. And as a result, there's been an increase in domestic violence as a result of very noble and good intentions, to try and ensure that women are empowered. What are you doing about their husbands?
I think we have to move away from that primitivity. That if our women become economically empowered, then we as men become insecure.
That is what is happening.
That is negative thinking. And even the men themselves have made deliberate efforts in the past. For example, there's a time I reached out to my personal friends because I was concerned about a situation where you have got men retiring and yet they have nothing to do in retirement. Somebody could even have been working as a watchman. He retires due to old age, and yet now he becomes vulnerable, he's doing nothing. So at one point, I did a rambe, just as a test case, as a means of addressing the social welfare of the aged. And we raised about 4 million shillings. But I'm glad to report that out of that 4 million shillings, it may look like a drop in the ocean compared to the financial outlay we require to adequately address that issue. But they shared out this money, and quite a number of them, courtesy of that effort, are involved in gainful economic activity. So social welfare, net social welfare, especially of the aged, is also something that we are going to address moving forward.
From what you've said, it is clear that you've thought through a development and economic and educational agenda for Kibra.
Yes.
But how does this translate into votes?
You see, I want the people of Kibra to vote for me on the basis of my agenda, what I want to do, the transformative agenda. I don't want the people to vote for me on the basis of some level of psychophancy, some inclinations towards a given political direction.
Will that happen, though, given what the electorate is?
There has to be a change somewhere.
I understand you do want to bring about the change, but is this the time? Will you lose as a result?
I'm not going to lose. I'm going to win this seat for your information. And I want you to call me here the first week, the second week of November, so that we take this conversation
the
further.
Day after you declared winner.
Yeah, right. I will be here as an elected MP for Kibra. You can take that to the bank.
What I'm asking is, you think the people of Kibra, this is, I think, where even I'm having a little bit of cognitive dissonance, because I see how, they get riled up and excited at rallies, and it's a very personality-based politics. You're coming with agendas and sort of transformative talk and empowerment talk. Is that tangible for the Kibra voter? And is this how you would speak to them at a rally? What would you be saying to them in a rally? This is what I want to understand. How are you connecting to them? So I can understand, the background of what you intend to do for them economically, socially, and so on. But when you're speaking to them, how are you connecting to them?
Let me tell you something. The people of Kibra know the challenges which they face. But they have been lacking the leadership that would put in place an enabling environment to enable them exploit their full potential. Let nobody cheat you that the people of Kibra are not interested in economic empowerment.
No, I'm sure they are.
They are, absolutely. You see, what happens within our political fabric is that people drive a given narrative to enable them pursue their political goals. That here in this area, it's unless, I'm just giving a hypothetical example.
Sure.
A hypothetical example. That somebody will tell you that unless one of you holds such and such a position, then your dreams will never come true. And I want you to take this comment very seriously. It is a narrative that you drive. You drive a political narrative for a given period of time. Then people buy into it. I want to change the narrative that people should not wait for some windfall to come from elsewhere. They can do it themselves. They are capable of doing it themselves. But what they have been lacking is an enabling environment. I want to create that enabling environment for the people of Kibra. And I've told them, for your information, that they have got an opportunity, courtesy of this November 7th by-election, to change their lives through proactive leadership. And that window of opportunity does not open forever, for your information. So they either buy into this idea or they don't. But they'll either buy into this idea or they don't. But to me, this Kibra by elections will be a test case as to whether or not our politics is becoming issue-based, or we are still embracing the old retrogressive
and what do you think?
That
who will come out on top, the issues or the retrogressive politics, tribal?
Believe you me, from what I've seen on the ground, people are embracing the issues. I've personally driven an issue-based campaign, all through, devoid of personalities and personal vendetta. No name calling. I've just been selling my idea to the people and telling them that I want them to vote for me on the basis of not just my track record within that constituency, but my transformative agenda for Kibra constituency.
There was some melee as well, some violence and so on. Were you involved in that? Was your camp involved in that over the weekend? I think you were accused.
Yeah, it was there. There was some violence over the weekend. But I want to say this, and I've preached this since the beginning of the campaign period. Let us campaign in a peaceful environment so that we create an enabling environment for the people to make an informed choice in terms of who is the best from among these candidates. Yeah, gone are the days when we would use violence, we would use intimidation to coerce voters to vote in a given political direction. This should not just be confined to Kibra, but anywhere else in the country for that matter. You see, all the parties which have sponsored candidates in the Kibra by-election are legally registered political parties and in conformity to the Political Parties Act. So they have a right to sponsor, to fill candidates in this race. And us as candidates, we went through a thorough vetting process by the IEBC and we met the prerequisite threshold for the candidates, which means we qualify as candidates. And on that score, I don't want us to develop enclaves, political enclaves within the constituency where you say that this area belongs to this political party, that other area belongs to that other political party, this area is my bedroom, the other one is the sitting room, and that type of thinking. That is negative and retrogressive politics. That's not going to take us anywhere. So what am I saying in short? All of us as candidates are free to campaign in any part of that constituency. And for your information, we have signed a code of conduct committing ourselves to peaceful campaign and also adhering to other facets of that code of conduct. That would ensure that we have got free and fair elections. So let all of us campaign in a free environment, peaceful environment. Let us do a peaceful voting, and then let us do an objective, impartial and objectively verifiable result system that would ensure that the best candidate is declared the winner.
So far, do you have faith in the IEBC?
I've got issues or concerns. I would be cheating you if I told you I've got faith in the IEBC. One, considering their historical background.
Let us discuss that when we come out of this short break.
Okay.
We're going to a short break and open up the phone line 0719 012 That's 0719 012 It's a Kibra by-election next week, and ANC candidate Mr. Eliud Owalo is in the hot seat this morning. What do you have to tell him? What do you have to ask him? Please call in. This is the Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. It's 11 minutes to 9.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning. So we have Eliud Owalo in the Situation Room, and he's here in the hot seat. He's telling us about the next week's Kibra by-election. So you started by telling us the issues that you have with the
IEBC. Yes.
IEBC.
You see, the reputation of IEBC is, in my estimation, at its lowest ebb, based on past practice. Okay, I've told IEBC in several meetings we have had that the Kibra by-election presents IEBC with an opportunity to redeem its lost image in the eyes of Kenyans by conducting an objective, impartial campaign process.
So is it going to be a situation if you don't?
I've got concerns. I've got certain fundamental.
This is what happens with the IEBC. The people, whoever doesn't win is, becomes very accusatory of the IEBC not being free and fair. So in your eyes, would it mean that you winning is what is free and fair?
No. Okay. This is what I'm not saying. But I want to give you specific areas of concern. The voters register. as at yesterday but one, we have been asking for the voters register for quite a long time, the current voters register, because rumors have been abound that certain names have been inserted in these are just rumors, by the way. I'm not saying I've bought into them, but they have been flying out there, that certain new names have been introduced into the register and others removed from the register. Okay? So we have been asking for the official voters register for Kibra constituency as at now, as at 2019, as at actually October 2019. And it's been proved quite a challenge to get it. We were given what in their estimation was a register, but with the names, and no ID numbers. The only way, objective way of verifying the authenticity or otherwise of a duly registered voter is through the ID number. The ID numbers were missing. So what they gave us, in my understanding as a layman, is just a leaflet. Yeah, it's not a register. Why have we been asking for this register? Let me tell you something. You can introduce 15 or 30,000 new names from elsewhere into a voters register, but at the same time remove the same 15 or 30,000 names
from the same register, from the people who actually are Kibra voters, who are actually in the voter register, or the voter roll of 2017. So the sum total of the voter register in terms of numbers remains the same. Yeah, but you have introduced people from elsewhere, because these fellows will vote for your favorable candidate. And this is why we have been asking for the current register, so that we look at it vis-a-vis the 2017 register, so that we compare and contrast the two. So you didn't get this?
We have not gotten this as of today. Today I saw something like they are going to release the register. Was it today? Later on today? We are waiting to see. But we have put in place a technical team that would pursue this to a logical conclusion. You see,
that is one issue of
it's a fundamental issue of concern, because the more they delay, the more we are drawing towards the election date. And if it is released perhaps on Monday, do you have enough time to go through it to scrutinize it? You don't. That then is the very beginning of the lopsided process that we are talking about. And I'm not just saying this for my own benefit. I'm saying this because it is a fundamental issue of concern to all the candidates. All I'm asking for as Owalo is a free and fair, impartial process that everybody else will be happy with. Okay? So that is one area of concern I have with the IEBC. The other issue of concern I have is voter bribery. There have been claims or instances of voter bribery and on one hand, and also misuse of public resources on the other. And I want to give you an example. The deputy president has been summoning delegations to the official residence of the deputy president in Karen. And whipping them to vote for one of the candidates, which is Makadolo Almariga. I want you to understand that there's a divergence of difference between the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya and the deputy party leader of the Jubilee Party. The deputy president is entitled to his own political position as to supporting a candidate of his choice. But if he wants to do that, let him do it from the Jubilee headquarters at Pangani House. Not the official residence of the deputy president at Karen, because that is financed with our own money.
Let me interject here, because your concerns contradict something you said earlier. You said they will be voting. You believe the electorate is going to vote on issues this time. And now you're raising concerns as to the fact that
I'm raising issues of electoral
some people might be bribed. You talked about them being bribed.
No.
Are we talking about the electorate being bribed or the IEBC being bribed?
No, I'm talking about the perception that the electorate is being bribed. I'm pointing the electoral malpractices which IEBC has been unable to address to date. So that is abuse and misuse of public office. And this is all over the clips of the TV station. So there is no other evidence that IEBC is waiting for. They simply need to notify the office of the DPP that instances of electoral malpractices and abuse of office have been witnessed in this campaign, so that the office of the DPP takes remedial action.
Are you required to lodge this as a complaint as a candidate? Are you required to lodge this, or even as a Kenyan? Has anyone, have you or any of your supporters lodged this as a complaint to the IEBC?
I've raised these issues in several meetings with the with the IEBC.
And what response did you get? Because I'm trying to look at it in terms of a timeline. In terms of what would happen then before the election. Have you written to them?
My party has written to the IEBC on
officially
these issues, because when you engage them, they don't tell you, but from their body language, you can read people who are incapacitated in some manner in terms of decision making. Yes.
So you have this on record as something that you've raised with the IEBC.
Oh yes,
and you haven't received formal response from IEBC.
Formal response, and within the next couple of hours or so, we are going to take some decisive actions on these issues. We are not the only party which has raised concerns as far as the register is concerned, or this malpractices are concerned.
Right.
I'm aware that other parties have also raised the same. Even yesterday, we had a meeting with the IEBC. Just to harmonize the timetables on the final leg of the campaign, and also to address security issues. Okay? Now, would you believe, and this is a very sad situation, that when I did my last, the last rally we had last weekend at the Kamkunji ground, which was contentious, at the Kamkunji grounds, we had a timetable, a campaign timetable, which we discussed ourselves at the beginning of the campaign period, harmonized and approved by the IEBC. The ODM party was supposed to be at the Line Saba grounds. Yeah? My party, ANC, and myself as the candidate was supposed to be at the Kamkunji grounds. In the morning, ODM supporters, ODM party took over Kamkunji grounds in the morning. They also went and took over the Buhungu grounds where Ford Kenya was supposed to hold its rally. Yet their official campaign venue was supposed to be the Line Saba grounds. And they said that nobody is going to hold a rally at the Kamkunji grounds because it has never happened since 1992. It is the exclusive preserve of one political wing. And I told them, I'm going to do my rally there. And I actually went and did my rally there. I addressed the people. At the tail end, certain people started throwing stones. I'm usually a very decisive person. Once I make up my mind on something, I pursue it, irrespective of the extraneous issues or unfolding issues in the operational environment. I pursue it. But now, what point am I trying to drive? We had the police at the Kamkunji grounds. And the head of the police, I don't know whether it's the inspector or somebody, actually made a comment that from the look of things, before I went to Kamkunji, and he was telling the public that the way I see the situation, it is not possible for ANC to hold a rally. It is the cardinal responsibility of the police to protect the lives and property of Kenyan citizens, financed by our own public money. And this is a policeman making that type of statement from the public. That is an act of submission, admission that they are incapable of executing their mandate.
I'd like to bring some politics in. I think we're going into the break, but a few questions about politicking between sort of within NASA and this divorce that has now happened, and what the implications are, and whether you're splitting Raila's vote in Kibra. After the break.
We'll be talking about the inside politics now of ODM. The Kibra by-election is coming up next week. ANC candidate Eliud Owalo is in the studio. This is the Situation Room. He's on the hot seat. He's taking a gulp of water. So as he does that, as he re-strategizes and what he wants to come and tell us in the next hour, I'll open up the phone lines as well. 0719-012-600. That's 0719-012-600. Questions and comments for Eliud Owalo. You can also post them on our Twitter handle, SpiceFMKE, via hashtag The Situation Room, and also on Facebook. This is SpiceFMKE. Good morning. This is The Situation Room. It's 9 o'clock.
Spice up your life. Traffic.
Quite a number of vehicles on the Limuru-Naivasha route this morning heading out towards Maimahiu, and there was a hold-up of trailers and I guess sorting out their business, and that has caused some traffic. Interestingly, the traffic is outbound today, it being Friday. A lot of people are actually leaving the city, so leaving might not be as smooth as it normally would be. All right, looking at Mombasa Road, the situation seems to have cleared up, doing a lot better than we were earlier. Outer Ring Kariobangi interchange is busy. Juja Road, as from Air Force Academy, is moving very slowly towards the Thika Superhighway, and that is heading towards the highway and outside of the city. Everywhere where we have a roundabout seems to be experiencing traffic this morning. So as you approach, that is what is going on. It is Friday, and decreased levels of traffic on the roads this morning. It's the weekend. People are heading out of the city, but for now, not so much in terms of traffic. If we do see anything else that we can let you know about, we'll be sure to do so. You call us on 0719 012 600.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have Nyeri Thorne, lawyer, political strategist, an insider in the corridors of power, ready to take on any side of the debate with her signature eloquence and grit. C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
2.5 minutes after 9. Good morning, and how are you doing? Thank you for choosing The Situation Room. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. So next week, the residents of Kibra constituency are going to pick one among 24 candidates who are seeking to be the next member of parliament. One of them is in the studio here this morning. He's the ANC candidate, Amani National Congress candidate, Eliud Owalo, and he's told us his development agenda, what he wants to achieve if he gets the vote by the people of Kibra constituency. Now, we've gone into the politics of it, and first, he has raised some couple of pertinent issues that the party and himself as a candidate have with the IEBC. Now, let's also come into the politics of what actually is happening on the ground. And Jerry asked you these questions even before and said, look, yes, so you've said all these things and they sound very good, and how do you connect to the people? Because when it comes to the politics on the ground, despite you saying that you're running an issue-based campaign, there are also the other candidates who are not running issue-based campaign per se. They're also running the politics of actually riling our people and going by various sentiments. And actually, now there was the other question that Jerry was raising on.
It was
ODM.
about your relationship as an ASA, because Raila has declared that ODM will forge new political alliances after the Kibra by-election, because they took offense, of course, with you guys, with ANC fronting a candidate. Because what happens when you do that is you split Raila's vote and you strengthen, we were talking about getting money from Karen, but you strengthen Mariga. Whether this has been done intentionally or inadvertently, I'm not sure, but of course that is the state of affairs. So what is your relationship at the moment with ODM? They talk about, Sifuna was talking about a divorce, or had you already divorced? And do you feel that perhaps you went against ODM in doing this, and it would be in favor of the deputy president and his candidate Mariga?
First of all, it is incorrigible and both incorrigible and inconceivable that anybody would insinuate that a personality of my caliber would be driven into supporting somebody like Mariga. It can just not happen. It's not possible.
But you realize that is what is happening in terms of, those are the consequences of you having a ticket.
Mariga came into this Kibra election much later, after I'd actually declared my candidature. Butichi came into this campaign much later. I declared my candidature for this seat even before ODM decided on their candidate. So I was the first person. So everybody else, perhaps, even in choosing these candidates, they were reacting to my candidature. Are you getting it? So at no given point in time should anybody ever imagine that Eliud Owalo can support somebody else in this Kibra race. It cannot just happen. So
but you do realize by running and by ANC fronting a candidate, i.e. yourself, that you are weakening ODM's position. It's inadvertent, I understand, but you're fully aware of this.
But why should you be talking about people, my candidature weakening somebody else as opposed to their candidature weakening my support base? Because I was the first candidate, the first person to declare my candidature. So all these other parties...
Why didn't you stay in ODM then?
I've already told you that we had got challenges in the nomination process of 2017. Only a fool makes the same mistake twice.
Right.
I was not going to go back to the same challenges of 2017.
The issue
So
here,
when you declared your interest, were you declaring it whilst you're in the ODM party, and when you realized you might not get the nomination, you moved to ANC? Or had you moved to ANC by then and then declared your interest?
My sister, I take time to make decisions.
Right.
And when I make decisions, I make decisive decisions.
Got it.
I decided that I was not going to run on the ODM party based on past practice. And you see, I'm not the only one complaining about the nomination fiasco. In ODM, the party itself constituted a committee to investigate this issue of party nomination. And the report is there in the public domain that nominations in that party has largely been a sham.
I just want to understand the sequence of events.
Yes.
Did you leave ODM and then declare that you will be running?
I left ODM, officially resigned from ODM, notified the party and copied to the Registrar of Political Parties as required by law. Subsequent to that, I joined the Amani National Congress Party and subsequently declared my candidature for the Kibra. So I was very clear in my mind that I was not going to run for this seat on the ODM ticket. No. I was not going to run for this seat on the ODM ticket.
How do you address those who are raising that question, though, the concern that by ANC participating in this particular by-election, then you're also going against the spirit of the coalition?
Why should it be? You see, the NASA coalition itself, in my little understanding, is a product of the ANC party. Okay? Yeah? It's a product of the ANC party. We have had instances, for example, in Embakasi. In Embakasi, ODM fielded a candidate. Yeah, Wiper also fielded a what? A candidate. ANC did not field a candidate. Why can't these two parties reciprocate the good gesture of ANC by supporting the ANC candidate? It cannot just be about yourself, that it is either me or the highway. That is negative thinking. Give everybody an opportunity to grow politically.
But given this is Braila's backyard, you can see strategically why it was an ODM candidate or why that decision was made at ODM. This has been Raila's constituency for a long time. He gets a lot of support from this constituency. So that might have been their thinking. Yeah, the previous MP, the late Kenneth Okoth, was an ODM member, so they're likely to vote that way. You can see the strategy there. With regards to you splitting the vote, which I think is what ODM has left, has been left. That's a bad taste they've been left.
But
with.
Nyeri, let me ask a question.
Yes.
Why do you refer to it as splitting the vote?
Because the people who will vote for him.
Seeking to garner votes for himself.
I understand, but in doing so, we have to look at the unintended consequences, or perhaps even intended. But what happens in you running, you take away votes that might have otherwise have gone to Raila, and of course, you then give Mariga an advantage.
Personally, even I thought, considering my sacrifice for the ODM party, that having been the first person to declare my candidature for this seat, ODM was going to reciprocate by declaring their support for my candidature. That's what I thought they would do.
I've sacrificed for that party. Is not, we just talked about they're not as strong as ODM in Kibra.
What were when you left the party, what were the relations at that point? Because there was all indicators that it was a bit of a sour relations when you did leave. And if that was the case, then on what premise then would you say you would think that they would have thrown their support behind you? Then now when you made the decision to then run on an ANC party, what would be the indicators for you that they would support you after having left in the manner that you did and expressed without any kind of inhibitions what your sentiment was at that time when you left?
You see, I made my decision to leave the party, and it is a reversible decision at that time. And this is not in a vacuum. It is informed by what has happened in the past.
Neither were you silent, and you were not silent about it either.
Yeah. You see, the only problem, there will only be a problem if you repeat the same issue every other day. But there's nothing wrong with speaking your mind and saying that ABCD is wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
That is Owalo for you.
For sure. But
that's
then why would
for
you?
you.
That's fine. But then why would you expect support from ODM now, then running on an ANC ticket? Why would you expect?
I thought they would reciprocate the sacrifice.
After you upset them and left?
Because you're brothers. Yes.
Come on.
You left.
I did a lot for that. But
You expressed the
You did,
sentiment
you
when
did, and
you
you
were
walked out
leaving.
bitter.
It was salty. I mean,
The
but
phone lines
that
are
really
open.
is now what
under the bridge.
in
Phone
my-
lines are open. 0719-012-600. 0719-012-600. We'd like to hear from the candidate, the electorate in Kibra. But also, this man is seeking to be a member of the National Assembly. So, of course, he's seeking to be a national leader. Now, let's talk about legislative agenda and legislation. I mean, everything you've told us is all about, Kibra.
Yes,
When you get
yes.
into the national platform, how do you hope to...
I want to make the people of Kibra proud by espousing on the national political front that they elected the right person who has an appropriate legislative agenda. You see, legislation and oversight of national government has got an impact on what happens at lower levels. So what do I want to do? I really want to ensure that we have got full implementation of the 2010 Constitution.
So the
I want
two-thirds rule, how would you vote? Two-thirds gender rule.
I would vote for it. Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I would vote for it anytime. Issues of good governance, good corporate governance, issues of promotion of human rights, and another area of concern is debt management.
All right.
We are actually become a country of debtors. It's painful that even today, if any of my constituents ask me for support, then I tell him, can I send you money by M-Pesa? Then he tells me, please wait a minute. If you send to my number, there will be a problem. Let me try and get...
Fuliza.
Yeah, because I'm on Fuliza. Let me try and get an alternative number. So we have become a Fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt. So that's another issue. We must have an effective debt management framework. And one of the things I want to pursue is the establishment of a national debt management authority, charged with the responsibility of not just providing advisory services, but given some independence, some level of independence to be able to manage our national debt.
And also
Another
informing
body.
the citizenry. We're very uninformed as the public
Yeah.
when it comes to things like debts.
Let's
It's
take a break on
rumors
that.
that fly around.
Yeah.
So, Eliud, we have a caller who's calling in. His name is Ben.
Yes.
He's calling from London,
Yes.
Nakuru.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning,
good
Ben.
morning.
Are you Mheshimiwa?
Fine, thank you.
Yes, I'm Ben Konyike from Nakuru, London. I have two questions for you.
Yes, please.
And based on your resignation letter, when you're moving from ODM, you quoted actually saying that your political ideologies and convictions and beliefs were not in line with the party. So my question is this: you have gone now to ANC.
Yes, please.
So are you comfortable on that on ANC?
Absolutely.
Given that ANC also is affiliate of NASA coalition, and almost they have the same related beliefs and their own strategies. Number two, on 2015. The question of integrity, because if you want a public office,
Yes.
your integrity issue is questioned.
Yes,
On 2015, you are alleged that you affect your undergraduate degree from University of Nairobi and you never graduated.
That is something that can be verified.
Yes, and for your case on that time, also you were fighting the likes of Videro and people like Namwamba. So, given that now you have been alleged on that, how can you tell the people that we are comfortable when you're given that office?
I'm a man of
Thank you,
substance.
Ben.
I'm a man of utmost integrity. Those allegations can be verified. Yeah. Anybody just needs to walk to Kenyatta University where I did my undergraduate course and walk to University of Nairobi where I did my postgraduate course and get that information. That is something, and access to information. Now we have got the Access to Information Act. You can go and demand that information from those respective universities. So that's something that it's hogwash. I won't even react to it. Yeah, there's no substance in it. The issue of
You left because you were uncomfortable in ODM. Now he's asking, are you comfortable in ANC?
Absolutely, I am.
They are brothers of the same mother.
There's an enabling environment in ANC for me to enable me exploit my full potential.
Is there one to enable women like myself?
Oh yes, please join us. Please join us anytime. Anytime.
I want to go back to the issues because now it seems that there seems to be a bit of a marrying of this between issue-based selection in terms of voting and then also personality-based voting.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned that, obviously you had taking up issue with the IEBC in terms of what happened, and they were pushing a particular agenda of a particular individual. Now, if you fear that this would sway the people in one way or another, then are the people of Kibra really ready to vote based on issues? If you have a fear and it's clear, or rather an uncomfortability with the fact that a personality would come in and sway their vote, then are the people on the ground really ready for that change? To have this paradigm shift that you spoke of, that they would now be ready to go and vote on issues if one individual can sway them in a way that makes you so uncomfortable?
No. Let me answer that.
Answer that question alongside this one by Rono. Rono is calling in from Eldoret. Rono, good morning.
Good morning, Eric, and good morning, panel, and Mheshimiwa, good morning to you.
Thank you.
Mheshimiwa, first of all, I would want to congratulate you on two things. One, coming out on public radio and willing to debate the rest of us, not just people of Kibra.
Thank you.
And I would want to comment on only two issues. One, that we need your kind of leadership, both inside and outside the political arena.
Thank you.
And what have you done insofar as presenting yourself both to us as a national constituency for your kind of leadership, and to
the people of Kibra,
the people of Kibra, so that they could identify with you solidly, without the kind of situations we have been seeing, where we see you going to rallies where you are stoned, the heckling, and all that.
Thank you, Rono.
Okay. Two issues here. One, what have I done on the national platform? I've contributed immensely to this country, public service. I'm actually the one who has done most of the strategic plans in the Kenyan market, whether they are ministries or parastatals.
No wonder we have a lot of PPPs in our plans.
Not really. Not really. I just want to mention but a few.
Mr. Owalo, it's a positive thing.
Yeah, it's a positive
thing, yes.
Just to mention but a few. Among ministries, I've done the strategic plan for the Ministry of Justice, which was voted the best strategic plan in the year 2008. I've done the strategic plan for Ministry of Provincial Administration, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Cooperative, Ministry of Lands, Ministry of Heritage, just to mention but a few.
Water.
Among parastatals, I've done the strategic plan for Kenya Ports Authority, Kenya Airports Authority. As we speak, last week, I just finished the strategic plan for the Commission of Administrative Justice, that's the Office of the Ombudsman. I've done the strategic plan 3 months ago. I finished the strategic plan for the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. I've done the strategic plan twice for the Kenya National Highways Authority. I did the first strategic plan for Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, KETRACO. I've just also finished the revitalization strategy.
Sounds like there's been single sourcing in government.
No, revitalization strategy on the basis of my capability and competence. Revitalization strategy for Mumia Sugar Company. I've done strategic plan for NSSF. I'm right now at the tail end of doing the strategic plan for NHIF. The first strategic plan for Sacco Societies Regulatory Authority, Competition Authority, Kentrade. Just to mention, but
Eliud, I think what Rono was asking is...
No, this is why I'm talking about public service. What have I done to this country? Let us not just look at what we have done from a political perspective.
All right.
I've contributed towards the governance framework in this country.
Which is, I was going to ask you, as you were reading out sort of your work and your achievements and how much you've done.
Not even reading
as you were stating it.
Yes.
It then, begs the question, because that is a position of leadership. You are contributing.
Yes.
Why is it you've then decided to go into Kibra as a constituency and go into parliament? Because with where you were in terms of remuneration, I'm sure the package is fantastic. In terms of contributing to the country, you have a platform to do that.
Yes.
In terms of recognition, there's the recognition there. So why is it you've chosen to go into
I'm not
parliament?
happy with the direction of our politics in this country. And I believe that some of us from the private sector must take risks.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, on behalf of the people, we should be ready and willing to take risks, plunge into politics, and drive our politics towards a different direction.
But Mr. Owalo, someone could argue that you were part and parcel of the group of people who took our politics in the direction that you now say you do not want it to go to.
Let me tell you something. What people need to understand is that one, I've never worked for ODM as a party. People don't understand that. I went and headed the Raila Odinga presidential campaign in the year 2013, which I was doing pro bono. I was not employed. Yeah, that was my contributing component towards that campaign. Are you getting it? And even after the elections of 2013, would you believe I'm somebody who is principled? I got an offer from the Jubilee Party to become a cabinet secretary.
All right.
After the 2013 elections, and I declined as a matter of principle. I told them I've just headed the Raila presidential campaign. There is no way, even if you see some qualities in me, I will join your government.
You talk like a true politician.
Yeah? There's no way I'll join your government.
What were you resigning from? When you resigned from ODM, because you did that 3 months ago, what were you resigning from?
I'm a member of the party. It is in law. You resign as a member. You must formally resign as a member of the party.
Right.
So I've never been employed by ODM.
Right.
And not just ODM. I've never been employed by anybody in my life.
Anybody?
I've never been employed. I've never earned a salary.
Right.
Yeah, that's me for you.
You've been in consultancy.
Yeah.
So there was a question that Ndu asked before we picked the call from Rono.
Yeah.
And this was with regards to
looking at the mix and match of personality politics as opposed to issue-based politics.
Yes.
Because you talked about the fact that the heartbeat on the ground right now really is that beating for the issues to take center stage.
Yeah.
However, you're clearly uncomfortable with the personality politics that is still playing out there. If it is truly that people are ready to vote based on issues or are actually ready to see a change in the way they vote, then why would you be uncomfortable even if a person is pushing their agenda in the same arena?
What I'm saying is this. I verily believe that the people of Kibra, that we have matured as a democracy in Kibra, that the people of Kibra are going to vote a personality that would be a change agent for the benefit of the people. But these issues, emerging issues in the operational environment, I'm raising with the IEBC. I'm simply trying to stop a situation where the servers will vote as opposed to the people.
And in terms of funding your campaign,
Yeah.
is that the party that's doing that, or is it
I have my
personally?
personal resources.
Right.
Yeah.
Private sector.
Yeah. I mean, I'm coming from the private sector. Yeah. I've never relied on financial support from any politician.
Not Karen, nothing like that.
That is why I'm independent.
not even your own political party.
That is why I'm independent-minded. I mean, a political party can support you, and it doesn't just have to be financial.
Why didn't you run as an independent then?
I analyzed the operational environment. When you run as an independent, you are prone to propaganda. Somebody would say that you are actually not an independent, but you are being sponsored by somebody else under the guise of being an independent. That is why I decided to run through the ANC party. You know, we have had by-elections even in Ugenya. There was a narrative that was being driven that Devo Chieng was actually a candidate of William Ruto. And I knew, based on that existential experience, that this would come up in the Kibra campaign. That's why I decided to run on ANC ticket.
Even on ANC,
just
you
1 minute.
those
1 minute.
Rumors are abound.
Yeah, rumors may be abound, but they don't hold water. Musalia Mudavadi is more senior politically to William Ruto. He cannot play second fiddle to William Ruto. It's not possible.
Could he be doing it because he's upset at Raila?
I don't believe so.
Right.
Yeah, you know. I was just a minute.
All the avenues in terms of
this is politics. You know, I was Raila's campaign manager in 2013.
Yeah.
Musalia Mudavadi was Raila's campaign manager in 2017, and now we have converged together because
so he brought you all your
yeah, he's
experience.
now my party leader. He's now my party leader. So that's how politics plays out.
Did
Oscar.
you grow up in Kibra?
Kibra was my first port of call when I came to Nairobi for the first time in 1989.
Good. Actually, we'll actually go into that. Oscar is calling in from Gong. Good morning, Oscar.
Yes, morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Hi, good people.
Good morning.
Hi, Oscar.
Sasa ndiyo.
Fiti.
Okay. Now, to Mheshimiwa,
Yes, please.
I want to say a big thank you to you for actually coming out and speaking on not only to the Kibra people, but us who neighbor or traverse Kibra as we get to our home.
Yes, please.
I have just first to your slogan.
Yes.
I see a big poster put up there says Eliud Owalo. What does it say?
Liwe Liwalo.
Liwe Liwalo.
Yes, ni Owalo.
As someone who grew up at the coast.
Come again?
As someone who grew up at the coast, who is at least versed in Swahili.
Yes, please.
Liwe Liwalo translates to whatever it may be.
Come what may.
No.
Yes.
That's
No, just allow me to speak. Please.
Yes, please. Yeah.
So I'm just telling you that in that, for those people who want to take advantage of that slogan, you may find yourself in trouble. But all having been said, and you have already put it up there, and you're very proud when you say Owalo.
Yes.
So that you will deal with as an in-house. But my question as to what you presented this morning is,
yes,
you presented a very positive and upward-looking agenda to the people of Kibra.
Yes, please.
I have a big concern, just like Jerry has, that maybe the electorate may not resonate with the things that you're putting forward. My big concern is, how do you articulate the same at a rally? How do you do that? And the other bigger question is, what if you don't make it? Those connections that you have spoken to, the NGOs, the who and who, would you be willing to do them still for the people of Kibra, even though you don't make it? Would you be able to do them? Okay. I mean, I don't think your hands will be tied from reaching out to the would-be elected MP that here, my brother or my sister, I don't know whether they're going to be vying in Kibra, but would you be able to go out to them and say, okay, this was my agenda for the people of Kibra. They have decided that this time it's not me, but I have this good thing that I want to bring to them. Would you be able to follow it through?
Right. Thank you for those questions.
Thank you, Oscar.
One, I'm not an egocentric fellow. And I want to appreciate the fact that come 8th of November, Kibra, the people of Kibra, all factors being held constant, the people of Kibra will only have one person elected as member of parliament. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Now, it's not a matter of life and death. Yeah? Let the people vote for the person they want. Yeah? And all of us, if the process is clear, impartial, objectively verifiable, we will accept the results. Yeah, you see, and I've been preaching this at my rallies. I've been talking to my supporters that let us have an issue-based campaign. Let us not fight. Let us not throw stones at our opponents, because we are all members of the Kibra community. After these elections, we still have to live together in what? In harmony. So what am I saying in short? Even as at 2017, when I didn't become MP, I established a positive working relationship with Ken Okoth. And I supported him wherever I could, because I was doing this for the people. Even if I'm not elected, I will not abandon the people of Kibra. I'll still be available. I'll still be available to them. Yeah? So leadership is not just about positions. You can actually do some of change the lives of the people, even if you are not holding the position. The only reason why we look for some of these positions is because you need a platform from which you can engage the relevant stakeholders. Yeah, because people will ask you, on what basis are you engaging me? So you need that platform.
So to answer Oscar directly, he's asking,
I'll be available, ready and available to continue supporting the people.
Is it to work with the MP who gets elected?
First of all, if somebody gets duly elected, I will recognize that and embrace him, and we work together for the benefit of the Kibra people. There's nothing wrong with that.
And then it sounds like Oscar is interested in political communications, because
then the Liwe Liwalo issue. The Liwe Liwalo issue. I'm simply saying that Kibra deserves the best.
What does it mean, Liwe Liwalo?
Come what may.
That's the traditional interpretation. That's the traditional interpretation. Just the same way, I'm saying Kibra deserves the best, and I believe I'm the best. That's what I'm saying. You see, on the flip side of it, somebody can also say that Kibra deserves a footballer.
Yes.
That does not mean that some of us who are not footballers should take offense.
Right.
That is just his way of communicating.
Expressing himself.
The other question he asked, which I thought was quite poignant, and I've been trying to get this out of you, is how do you articulate these issues? Because here
I
in
localize.
studio,
The language I use is
such as, give us an example. Give us a one
Do a rally.
minute
Here we are.
Please. I'm
Yeah,
really
what would you say?
Do a mock rally.
A mock rally, what you
Here
would
we
say
are.
to us.
mock rally.
Yes.
Okay, for example.
So we're all cheering. Let's create the environment.
Karibu,
Owalo.
Mheshimiwa.
Live Liwalo. Live Liwalo.
And then what do we say? Owalo.
Okay. So now, for example, on the issue of youth empowerment, I would tell the people that we can create jobs through entrepreneurship enterprises. Yeah, we start our own businesses and get into gainful employment instead of just white collar jobs.
So you're
That
talking in
resonates-
Swahili when you're talking to them?
Yes. That resonates with the local people.
Oh, okay.
And when you tell people, for example, that you have been misused for long, yeah, it is now time to take charge of your own destiny
Right.
by empowering yourself.
Okay.
It resonates with them.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you're able to translate.
Yes.
it into something
You
that's
have to
tangible.
localize and
I got
customize
it.
these messages. Yeah.
Interesting.
You see, now I'm talking to a national audience.
Right, yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's slightly different.
Yeah.
So by what sort of, do you see yourself winning by a landslide? What sort of percentages are you looking at if you were to attribute, to predict what the election numbers will be?
I'm going to win this seat. I don't want to leave any margin of error. I want to win decisively. And I believe I've got the numbers to do that. I'm not going to talk about the statistics because that's part of my internal
Where are you
strategy.
putting yourself?
That's your trade secret.
54% or
Come again?
54%?
No.
60%?
No, first of all, you need to know that in a by-election, the voter turnout is
Much
usually
lower.
it's much lower. I want to be realistic. I've set some realistic, but also I've set
Achievable.
some ambitious, but also realistic
Realistic
targets for
targets.
myself. Yeah.
0719-012-600. That's the number you can call in. You can see the phone lines are ringing. Let's take a look at what's happening on the roads, and then we come back and you can ask your questions to Eliud Owalo. He is the ANC candidate for next week's Kibra by-election. Good morning. So, Eliud, as we pick calls, let's also talk now national politics. And, what you said, you're going to be a national leader. You're seeking to be a national leader.
Yes,
And
please.
you said you decided to move away from just being a consultant and also just helping political parties, but into getting yourself into the arena because you feel that our politics is not right.
Yeah, it's taking the wrong direction.
What is that? Explain to us.
It is retrogressive. You see people being cobbled around tribes for purposes of gaining political power. That is worrying for me. We see a lack of objectivity in our politics. That is worrying for me. So that's why some of us need to come in and change the paradigm. Yeah.
How are we going to change away from, we've talked very many times about tribal politics here, and seeing that is something that is benchmarked quite heavily here, and it's really a charge, and you've just expressed that you're not really comfortable with that. And we've also tried to ask ourselves many times, how do we make that shift from what seems to be the status quo? How can we change that? How can we get people to think differently, and maybe say that it is tribal the way in which Kenya votes, but if we're not comfortable with it, how does that change? How would it ever change?
You see, change is a process. Yeah, change is a process. You may not be able to change overnight, but it is a process. So we have to start from somewhere. Okay. Now there needs to be proper sensitization of the people. Yeah, that we need better for our country. Yeah, and to do this, we need proper leadership. A leadership that is all inclusive. Yeah, a leadership that is not parochial in thinking, a leadership that is not tribal inclined in approach. Yeah, that is the only type of leadership that can drive a transformative agenda for the benefit of all of us as a Kenyan people. So, in a nutshell, what I'm saying, we need to hound out the tribal leaders out of town.
Get them out.
Get them out,
We
right,
need
yeah.
to. We have no choice. Yeah.
We have a caller on the line. This is Nick calling in from Mombasa. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
Very well, thank you,
morning.
Nick.
Well, I would really love to contribute on the debate.
Please, carry
Good
on.
morning, Mheshimiwa Owalo.
Morning to you. Thank you.
Well, I just want to talk about Kibra first.
Yes, please.
In the current politics, we need people like Owalo. People who are articulate. Like for me, I'm an ODM, but I think I can really vote for Owalo.
Thank you.
People should vote for like things like ideologies. Not that ni bedroom, sijui ni sitting room, no. Tunataka watu ambao wanaweza kupeleka watu mbele. Look at, okay, Mariga and Imran. These people are just going there. They are just hanging on the party.
Nick, you're saying, Nick, that you're a member of ODM and you're also espousing the issue of ideology. So what's ODM's ideology that makes you stick there?
I'm okay. I'm just a fan. I'm a member of Raila Odinga, but I cannot just vote because Raila said we vote for Imran. I can use my brain. I can use my brain, vote for somebody who can articulate issues like Eliud Owalo. And I think that is what we should do. Our country is heading somewhere that will not in future help us. It's just going to bring us down.
So a breath of fresh air. I guess sometimes the electorate is not provided with the opportunities to pick such leaders. We're also short of choice as voters. That tends to happen.
But I also, while still on the same score, without any prejudice, I want the political parties to also become a bit serious and be fair to the Kenyan population. You see, the work of the primary role of an MP is legislation and oversight. Please, even if we are presenting candidates as political parties, let us give the people a fair deal. Let us present candidates who actually can live up to the mandate of a member of parliament.
We've set a dangerous precedent. We have former
Let us
musicians.
be fair. Let us be fair to Kenyans.
Rowan is calling in from Nairobi. Good morning, Rowan.
Good morning.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, panel.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, today youth amepiga kutoka tu hapa Nairobi. I mean, Mheshimiwa, good morning.
Morning, Safi.
Sasa, as in, you've been telling us that, your ideologies, the agenda of ideologies looks good. It really kind of resonates. But I mean, you've just narrowed down to the youth, and you're telling a graduate that, go start some business. Hey, that one, go empower yourself. I mean, have you told him anything? Have you helped him?
This is why I'm saying that we need to change our mindset.
Because the mindset is already changed. People are thinking about ideas, but when they narrow down, they just find they're just shallow ideas.
You see, what we are missing is an enabling environment. You may be a graduate in ICT, for example.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you have to go to an office, you have to be in a tie, to earn a salary, to earn a living. You can actually set up your own ICT firm and offer support services. Okay, but you see what I'm saying? I concur with you. You see what I'm saying? Why this graduate gets desperate is because he can't get a job and there is no alternative. So in the absence of...
And I think that is the mentality you guys are not getting it. Because most of the graduates, they really know. They don't want to stomach. But when they come home, I mean, you have no capital, you have no finance, you are just blank.
That's why we want to empower them. So that they can let them get resources to be able to use the brains they have. To exploit their full potential.
I mean, address the issue of resources. I mean, you'll be addressing the issue of the youth empowerment. But just the ideologies, I think you'll be taking us for a ride. But thank you.
Thank you.
I think we are talking about the same thing.
Yeah.
What is concerned about is that people are graduates, they don't have opportunities. Yeah, they don't have jobs, and they don't have an alternative. And that's why I talked about a paradigm shift. Let us see how we can get some entrepreneurial funds for these people so that they can pursue their lines of specialization, but from a different perspective.
Stephen calling in from Nairobi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I have a number of questions to ask the prospective MP.
Yep.
The first one is, when you think about Kibra, people think of slums.
Yes.
So, concept is, why do we, as a prospective MP, why do you want to represent a place that is associated with demeaning poverty? Do you think that, in fact, you should eliminate the concept of slums?
You see, what my friend is asking is, in the converse, that why would I not run in an upmarket constituency? I won't be able to introduce much change there. I want to run in Kibra. Yes, I want to run in Kibra because I empathize with the situation, the challenges that the people are facing, and I know that at some point in time, I will be evaluated by the people on the basis of my performance. I want to go into an area where I can introduce radical change, and people can see the divergence between the baseline from where I started and what contribution I've made.
He also asked something along the lines of slums should be abolished or shouldn't exist. So the idea of slum upgrading, it's something you actually haven't talked about, given sort of this is the elephant in the room when it comes to Kibera.
Yeah. That's a good question, and actually that is one of my areas of concern from a legislative perspective. I'm actually thinking of doing something radical that will not just benefit the people of Kibra but other parts of this country.
Okay.
I want to introduce a bill in Parliament which can get into an act of Parliament that would advocate, a bill that advocates for inalienable right of the people to access to certain minimum standards of housing, together with the attendant facilities, housing, water, and sanitation. What am I saying in short? We pay taxes to the government. I want it in law. I want a provision in law that will compel the national government to ensure that each and every Kenyan lives in a habitable environment in terms of minimum standards of housing, water, and sanitation. It's already happening.
What if I was to tell you the provision in terms of as a legal instrument is already there? So in terms of passing legislation, we have enough of those. Now, that's what I was going to ask. How would you ensure that it's enforced?
Basically, you can allocate a percentage of our national revenue or our GDP towards housing, water, and sanitation. And make sure that this is universally applicable to all Kenyans so that you don't have inequitable distribution or skewed way of doing it.
You talked about you'd like to push for the creation of an authority on debt.
Debt, yes.
So is it what did you call it? Debt management?
Yeah, a debt management authority.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we have a department in the National Treasury that deals with debt as well. In fact, it was just set up the other day with a new leader.
Yeah.
How different would this be from that?
It will
Instead
be
of just
different
creating a new body that has infrastructure, you have to put in a new office space.
This one would have David
resources.
That is a department of the National Treasury. Yeah. Let me enlighten you on how government works, based on my little understanding.
Yes.
The principal accounting officer of a ministry is the principal secretary, as at today. So even if you have a debt management office within the National Treasury, is answerable to the principal secretary. That's where policy direction comes from, and of course with the cabinet secretary. But we want an office that exercises some level of independence and also enjoys some level of immunity to undue interference.
Right.
That's why we are talking. It could be like in the form of one of the independent commissions. Yeah. So we are talking about level of independence so that they are able to execute the mandate of debt management and also shielded from political interference. So we have to hive it off for the treasury.
Do you see this as a standing authority over some time, or is it going to be a permanent one? I'm just concerned about, we have so many authorities in this country, authorities and commissions. For each need, we come up with a new body. We have a National Employment Authority now.
If we are to
have this National Debt Authority.
If we are to introduce one to save us from the Fuliza situation, so be it.
Something like that, I think, would be duplicating the work of the Treasury. I can't see what their mandate would be in terms of management other than informing the citizenry, because they can't actually go and tell the different ministries what to do. That comes from Treasury and the budget that's already written. But it's a noble idea, and I think it places emphasis on the fact that we need to discuss our debt.
What we are talking about here is that we will have thresholds of borrowing. We should have actually thresholds. To what limit can you borrow? Yeah? You see, it is the same bad practice we have at the national level that we are cascading downwards to even individual level. Are you aware that today Kenyans borrow from SACCOs? They start by taking loans from their employers. They borrow from SACCOs. Then they move to borrowing from friends. They borrow and borrow until they even forget the people they borrowed from first but have not paid, and they end up going back. That's when they are reminded that, are you aware the other one is still outstanding? Yeah. So this culture has to be eradicated.
Why don't we have stronger oversight in Parliament? This is what Parliament has now. We have budget committees and all this. Why not just strengthen the oversight in Parliament? And ensure that Parliament, for example...
If you look at the relationship that Parliament has had, say, for instance, with the body that was supposed to regulate our incomes as employees. And if you looked at the relationship they've had with the Commission, say, on revenue allocation, at best it has been acrimonious. And Parliament has the power to simply shoot down anything that these bodies come up with. It doesn't suit their purposes.
We are actually dealing with a rogue parliament.
Because we're looking at the interests of the members as opposed to the interests of the people whom they are supposed to be there to legislate for in the first place.
I agree with you fully and exclusively on that score. And that's why you need some progressive elements within Parliament.
There's a question a caller had asked, or a statement he had made that you haven't covered. He talked about how you managed to have rallies amidst all the stone throwing and so on. What I wanted to ask is for you to, of course, explain to the caller, but who's doing the stone throwing? Is it the Mariga side? Is it ODM? Or is it the Mariga side that's organized to make it look like ODM?
Who's doing the stone throwing?
Well, I don't want it to impute an improper motive on anybody's part. Neither do I want to throw some deeds into somebody's bloodstream. But it is in the public domain that certain segments of the political fabric within Kibra feel that they are
Which one in particular? Because I think this is indicative of sort of the politics that
I don't
is
want to be
playing
quoted out of context.
Because I remember seeing something on Twitter. I'm not using Twitter as a source, but I remember seeing something on Twitter
in this case
where the DP's sort of faction, Tumbis and them, were being accused of organizing ODM members to come and disrupt your rally, because that then creates that rift even further. So whether they were capitalizing on the fact that there's a slight rift between you two, or whether they're the ones behind your rally.
Let me tell you something. There is no single youth in Kibra who will throw a stone at Owalo. They know me, I'm part of them, I've lived with them. These are actually youth who are imported from outside and paid to come and execute these heinous acts.
How far out?
Some of them are from Dagoretti North. Others are from Madare. And even the people who are organizing them to come and throw stones are well known. And the police have been furnished with this information. Yeah. It's an unfortunate situation.
MP is it still at Dagoretti North?
Come again?
The MP for Dagoretti North.
Do I even know his name? I don't know his name.
So you've talked about now the kind of campaign that you've been running. As we come to the close of the show,
yes,
I want you to go into that issue of, you said first of all that we have a rogue parliament. I'd like you to delve right into that, because you're seeking to join that same rogue institution. So how would you be different when you get in there? We've seen people who've gone in there saying the same thing that Eliud Owalo is telling us this morning. We have a rogue parliament. We need to have sober leaders. They get in there and they start telling us, that system is so hard to turn and to convert.
It boils down to the...
Or they tell you, you don't really understand what happens.
Exactly.
It boils down to the people. Let us elect leaders who are actually principled, people who are actually results-oriented, people who are going into work for the people. It is not just in the National Assembly, even within the countries. I mean, you look at some of the quality of some of the governors we have, I mean, it's mind-boggling. Yeah, and it is us who vote for them.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say, because we can look at that now, and then we always go back and say, well, you know what? You get what you get. You
garbage in,
garbage out. This is who you've elected as the people. However, they come to the people, and this is what they present to the people in terms of a choice of what people have to put into Parliament. The choice is really sometimes not very appealing.
Maybe some of them spoke very well. They had, points agenda. They had all these ideas that they wanted to implement, and then they go.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
You don't believe? You believe that they were the same? What they presented is who they were, and we should be able to look at the underbelly of what they presented.
No. What I'm saying is that some of the leaders of questionable standards, whom we have elected to office, use unorthodox means to get into those offices. Some bribe voters. So what we are saying is that the voters are vulnerable because of the poverty situation in the country. That's why we end up with people whom we know. I mean, somebody just comes up from nowhere, no track record, and he says, I'm running for this office because he has made some money somewhere. It is mind-boggling. It's a sad situation.
How do we change that?
The political parties. That's why I was talking about the political parties. They must be issue-based, and they should put forward to the Kenyan people individuals who are able to effectively execute the mandates of these respective
Eliud,
offices.
we've said this many times on this show. Political parties in Kenya are actually individuals who are at the helm of a certain party.
And have a following.
So you talk about ANC is Musalia Mudavadi. Every time I've asked you about ANC this morning, you told me about your party leader.
Yes, please.
You've not mentioned any structure of the party. So political party, ANC. Political party, Raila Odinga, ODM, Jubilee, Uhuru,
That's what
Ruto.
we need to change.
How do we change that?
We have to change it by, first of all, putting in place frameworks for development, for decision-making processes within the political parties and institutionalizing them. Institutionalizing those systems and processes.
Well, I mean, it's clear and it's evident what the temperature is, because we had someone who even called in today and talked about the fact that they're a follower of a particular party, but when asked what the ideologies of that party are, we are lost he's just a fan. And I say that is something, it's indicative of what the greater population could actually be, in terms of I'm following just like I'm following the individual.
We must start somewhere. We must start somewhere. It's a Herculean task, but we must start somewhere to change the paradigm.
Right.
So here's your last opportunity as you go into next week's by-election in Kibra. And then, of course, we're extending that invitation to you. Be the first one to come here. If you get elected as the Kibra MP, come in here as the first station of call. Come and tell us what you're going to do, whether you're actually going to actualize these things and your plan. So please. Talk to the people of Kibra.
Now, my parting shot is this. The Kibra by-election presents the opportunity to the people to elect a leader who is going to change their lives. The window of opportunity does not open forever, and I am appealing to the people of Kibra to choose the right leader. Let us look at the track record of all these 24 individuals within that constituency, what they stand for today, and their agenda for the people of Kibra moving forward, and be able to make informed decisions on the basis of that. From where I sit, among these candidates, Owalo is the best. And that's why I'm saying Liwe Liwalo, Kibra ni Owalo.
Liwe Liwalo.
Come what may, come rain or high water, this is going to be yours. Right? So, and of course you have issues. Now let's also ask you, should you lose, are we likely to see you bringing up issues or no? The issues that you've raised this morning about IEBC has some incapacities. Are we likely to see you raising the issues that you're raising today, but still going into an election next week, and then you lose and bring them back?
Call me back here, we will be able to engage in that discourse.
So you'll be complaining about IEBC? Why
Not quite. What I'm saying is that even if I lose, call me back here and ask me what next.
Right.
I'll be able to engage you. Yeah.
All right. Then your parting shot to the country, because you're seeking to be a leader in the National Assembly.
Let us embrace progressive politics as a country. Let us run away from retrogressive, tribal politics, because that's not going to take us anywhere as a country. As a Kenyan people, we need progressive politics moving forward. Issue-based politics for the benefit of the common mwananchi. Leadership is a calling, but we must be able to offer servant and effective leadership.
What will you do if you're given, offered something in the toilets or in the corridors?
I don't think anybody will dare even offer me that. They know me.
They know your stand.
Yeah, they know my stand.
From the beginning.
Some of them may not know you, they may just come and watch you.
Try their luck, as it were.
I don't think anybody will dare offer me that. Of course, I'll turn him down. I'll turn it down.
Yeah. Parliamentary system or presidential system?
Well, I'm more concerned about full implementation of the 2010 constitutional dispensation as at now. I don't want to talk about whether or not we need a referendum or not. Let me wait for the BBI report to be out, and I'll be able to comment effectively on it. The official report. I'll comment on it at that point in time.
Yeah. Were you for Punguza?
Well, I've seen it. I've got issues with it. I want to compare and contrast the two documents, then make informed decisions. So let's cross the bridge when we get there.
Right.
Very safe. Very safe. Very safe line to take. Thank you very much. Eliud Owalo is a candidate for the Kibra by-election, next week's Kibra by-election, on a Amani National Congress ticket. Thank you for honouring our invitation to come, and we also extend the same invitation in future, as a member of parliament, or as a consultant, as somebody who understands governance and issues of national importance. We've been discussing very many things, and we'd like you to come and also shed some light on some of the strategic plans that you have. Asante sana.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Now, our parting shots for the week. It's a Friday.
It's a new month.
It's a new month.
Yes.
Now, today you're not giving us the conversation must continue.
No, I'm not.
Give us something deeper.
What I'm going to say is this. Change actually happens in what you call a very innocuous way. And sometimes conversations that seem commonplace may be the beginning of change. And I'm hoping the conversation we've had with Mr. Owalo will be one such beginning.
Sante Ndu.
Yeah, all about changing thinking, and I think that has come through in a lot of things that we've talked about today. Changing your thinking. It's a new day, but still, the thinking changes, and then that establishes in the way we actually do things. Have a good weekend.
I'd like to thank Mweshimiwa here for such a lovely conversation. We've had gentlemen in the studio who are not as well sort of mannered, especially when faced with female sort of interjections and female questions from a woman. So it's good to see that, the patriarchy hasn't gotten to his head and he's able to accept views and opposition from women. It was lovely and pleasant speaking to you. Thank you.
It's informed by my Maseno school background.
This is it. So that's it. All right. And then what's your parting shot for the week, Jerry?
That was it. I was just thanking and feeling great that we can actually have an interaction.
A breath of fresh air.
Absolutely. Generally, when you have sort of men that you're engaging with, the gender aspect comes into it, and the ego is very fragile. The fact that they're being questioned by women can turn quite ugly and nasty. Of course, we didn't see that. This is a refined gentleman, and I wish him all the best.
Asante sana. Well, we've had a conversation for 2 hours with Eliud Owalo. We've talked about Kibra. We've talked about national politics. We've talked about, politics of agenda-based and theme-based, and what's the other word I'm looking for? Issue-based. Yes, issue-based politics. Instead of just talking about tribe and political parties from a personality perspective. Well, the conversation has begun on that front many times before, and I'd like you to continue. Thank you very much for tuning in to The Situation Room the whole of this week. Join us again next week from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday, Monday to Friday. My name is Eric Latif. We have C.T. Muga, Jerry Thorne, Nduoko, and also Eliud Owalo, who's been with us this morning. Asante sana, and have a good week. Goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you.